Welcome to our ladies two-tone waistcoat sew-along. This is a slightly complicated pattern, but it's not too difficult. So I suggest it for someone who has at least sewn a few sewing projects before you attempt this one. You can use this sew-along for our ladies simple waistcoats as well as our zero waistcoat, because the bones of the sewing patterns are very similar, so you are able to use the sew-along for all three patterns.
We've adjusted the sew-along for you to use for the men's two-tone waistcoat as well.
So here is the pattern for the ladies two-tone waistcoat. The front of the main fabric is made up of two sections, so this will be a contrasting color, will be your center front, which I've gone for in a beautiful sort of sandy taupe color, and everything else is in black. And the top front section I've done in black. Then you have the ladies front lining section. So the lining would be completely different to the other sections. The top and the front and the center front you cut out of only fabric, main fabric, and then the lining section only out of the lining. Then you have your button guide, which we'll be using right at the end. Then the side panel, cut two of fabric, cut two of lining.
The men's two-tone waistcoat does not have a side panel, only the front and back sections, so you will have one pattern piece less.
The back panel, cut one unfold of fabric, cut one unfold of lining. Then we have our pockets, our upper pockets and lower pockets, cut two of each out of lining only. We have our pocket piping, which we'll also be cutting out of the contrast color. We're needing to cut four of those. Then the back straps, or the belt straps that go at the back, cut one of each of those on the fold. And lastly, and very importantly, the interfacing section. So this is literally just the interfacing. You're going to use this to trace out your interfacing. I like to use a rather hard interfacing for this. It really helps with the quality of the product. And you can see I've traced it on, but I've left at least a centimeter or about 3/8 of an inch around that. Without this extra section, you're going to find it very difficult. So make sure you trace the full part out like that. Okay, so the amount of fabric you're going to be needing for this, out of the main fabric and the lining, the main color that is, I usually, to be safe, a meter or a yard of each. And in the contrast color, you only need about half a meter or half a yard. Then you need a buckle. I've gone with this beautiful buckle to match the contrast fabric. And with the buckle, in order to insert into the straps, you need eyelets. 1, 2, 3, 4 eyelets. You can do it with just a sliding buckle. I've done it before, but over time you'll find eventually the sliding buckle doesn't want to hold onto the straps anymore. So I prefer to use one that requires eyelets. And then buttons, you'll need 6 or 7 buttons. So yeah, and that is all you need to get started. To get the hardest part over first, we're going to do the front panels. So as you can see, all my fabric and markings have been done before I started, to save you from any unnecessary boredom. First thing you're going to do is you're going to be preparing the top front section. So you're going to be doing that by sewing close this dart, and you're going to be folding over this front section that you have marked out with the lines. Now when you're folding over along this section, start at the bottom and move your way up. It just does give you a need to finish at the end. So first thing you're going to do is with small embroidery scissors, cut away all the corners. You don't want bulk in the corners, but don't cut too close to the corners either. You just cut away a bit of the bulk of the fabric in the corners. This will just allow everything to sit much more neatly. So I'm initially going to be starting at the bottom. Fold over along that line and press it. You can use a bit of starch in your spray bottle when you're pressing to make sure that the fabric stays in place. And you're going to fold over the line along the top and press that into place. Now when it comes to this curve over here, take your embroidery scissors again and just clip along that curve, say every centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. Just clip it slightly along that curve all the way. This will allow you to fold over the section of fabric and have it sit much more neatly. So you're going to fold over and press all of that flat. Once you've done that, once this is pressed flat, you're going to stitch along the edge. So you're going to stitch about 5 millimeters or 1/8 along the edge all the way, just to keep that fold edge in place. Then you're going to close your dart, and when you close your dart, you're going to press it towards the front. When in doubt, when it comes to darts, I know a lot of people aren't too sure which direction to press. Unless specifically stated, always press towards the center front or the center back of the garment. So the center front if you're working with the front section, or the center back if you're working with the back section. So sew it close and press, and you do want to press because pressing gives it just such a much better quality finish. You want to do pressing before you move on to any other stages. So yes, I have cheated a bit already and done the first one. There we go, and you can see I've already sewn and pressed that dart, and I've sewn that fold edge over. And I'm taking the contrast fabric and lining up the two corners here on the shoulder. I'm going to pin it into place. And I'm going to line up the very point at the bottom end. Make sure those 2 points are lined up. Once those 2 points are lined up, then just fit your top panel to the center front panel and pin it securely into place all the way along. So make sure it's nice and securely pinned, and once you've done that, once it's pinned into place, stitch along the edge, and I mean as close to the edge as possible, maybe leaving like a millimeter or a 1/16 of an inch, but as close to the edge as possible. Stitch all the way along, and you'll be attaching this top section to the center front section, and then that is your front panel ready. So there we go, and that is what the finished front section is going to look like. All the steps are the same process for the two-tone waistcoat, the ladies simple waistcoat, and the Sarah waistcoat. Actually, the only difference was this additional front section. So for all three of those waistcoats, you can from now on follow the same process. The first step is you're now going to be attaching the side front section to the front panels.
Because the men's pattern does not have a side panel, you will skip the part where you're joining the side panel to the front panel, and you will be sewing the back and front sections together directly at the side seams and the shoulders.
Line it up, put it into place, and then stitch with the standard seam allowance, clip along the edge slightly because there's a slightly curved edge, then press it open. Once you've pressed it open, you're then going to be taking your interfacing and lining up the markings with the marking on the side seam. You're going to press it glue side down into position. So you're going to have something that looks like this. Once you've done that, you've pressed it all together, take your small embroidery scissors once again, and you're going to cut along the inside lines on the interfacing. Now this whole pocket process, you're going to be pressing a lot and double checking your work a lot. The more you do this, the better quality product you're going to have. Just clip along that line to the end, to the triangles, and clip into the corners at the triangles. Okay. So you're literally only cutting along the center line and the two sides of the triangles at the end. Now once you've done that, you're literally going to along the other outer lines. So on the outer lines, you're now going to fold those clipped sections and you're going to press it flat. Please use starch in your pressing water when doing this, just to help secure everything in place. So you're literally going to press everything open along those outer lines now. Top and bottom and your side corners. Okay, you're going to press it all open. Then once you've done that, you're going to take your pocket piping sections. Okay. You're going to take your pocket piping sections, then wrong sides of fabric facing, fold it in half, and then you will be pressing those flat. Once you've done that, you'll just baste the raw edge closed. You can see I've done that here for you already. Literally pressed it in half and baste that raw edge closed. Then you'll be taking that, lining them up with the edge. So this edge, the cut edge, is where you're going to be lining up your piping. And then you're going to baste that piping into place on both the top and the bottom of the pockets. Now, before you baste it, first pin everything into place. And then once that's pinned into place, just turn it over and have a look and make sure everything lines up neatly on the other side. And if you're happy with the way everything's lined up on the outside, then baste it into place. Now once you have attached the piping to the pocket sections, just a quick tailor's cheat before you press it flat into position. Take some needle and thread and just hand baste the opening section or the fold ends of the piping together. Piping loves moving, it has a mind of its own, and this way you get to keep it controlled and in place right until the finished product. In fact, you won't remove this hand stitch right until the end after everything is 100% complete. So just stitch that together. Here we go, and press that into place. Once you've done that, then you're going to be attaching the pocket sections. So take your upper pocket section, pin it to the top of your pocket, then along, you're going to be stitching it along that fold line. So make sure you stick to that fold line when you're stitching that into place. You'll be doing the same for the bottom. Take your bottom, your lower pocket section, pin it into place and stitch it together along that fold line. So once you've sewn the pocket onto the piping sections, press it flat again, and once you've pressed it flat, stitch along the pocket, joining it together by a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And when you do that, make sure that you're catching the piping with it as well. So make sure you catch at the top here the piping, and then stitch all the way around, and to finish off, make sure you catch the piping on this side as well. Once you've done that, once you've closed the pocket, now comes the trickiest part, the part most people dread. Turn your fabric so that you have right sides facing towards you. Fold it back, and then you will see this infamous little triangle. This triangle, you're now going to pin it flat, and along that fold you're going to stitch it into place so it doesn't move. You're going to be doing that on both sides. So get your little triangle, pin it into place, and then along that fold you're going to stitch it into place. Okay, do that for both pockets, and then your pockets are done, and that's literally the hardest part of the entire garment completely finished. Then we're going to move on to the back. So grab your back sections and your back strap sections. So first you want to finish the straps before you attach them into the back. So what you're going to be doing is wrong sides of fabric facing. You're only going to be sewing along one side in the bottom, so you won't be sewing on the side that with the marking that shows where you insert into the dart. So you're just going to be sewing it along the bottom with the standard seam allowance and up the side. You can do that for both straps. Okay. So just going to sew it along the opening on along the bottom length and up the one side. Okay, so once you have sewn along the side and the edge, take your scissors and cut away all the unnecessary corners, getting rid of all the excess bulk fabric that you don't want in your belt strap. Once you've done that, you're then going to turn it so that it's right side out, and then you're going to stitch along the edge down the sides just to finish it off. So you're going to turn it right side out, press it flat first. This is one of those times when you're going to want to press first, and then just stitch along the edge about 5 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch along the edge just to finish that off. Then in these markings for your eyelets, just take a small embroidery scissor to help you to make the holes. Insert the eyelets in on the top and the washes in at the bottom, and I'm sure most of you probably have a hand clamp that you use. I've been very fortunate enough to invest in a nice big industrial one that does the work for me. So just cut out those holes, insert your eyelets, close your eyelets with whichever equipment that you have, and your belt straps are then ready to insert into the back bodice. When you're finished the straps, you're going to be attaching them to the back section. Now these markings are on the wrong side of the fabric, but you're going to be attaching your straps onto the right side of the fabric. So take a pin and just slide it through the marking where you're going to be attaching those belt straps. Turn fabric right side up. Okay, so now you can see where those straps are going to go. With right sides facing up towards you. Here's the second one. Spin them along those marks, making sure that they line up. So you want to pin them both at the same time to make sure they line up. You don't want one belt sitting up higher than the other. They've got to sit at the same level. And once you're happy that your two belt loops are sitting at the same level, just fold them in half and then just pin them to the back of your bodice. This is just to make sure that they don't move or go anywhere they're not supposed to while you continue your sewing. Okay, so now that you've done that, where you've pinned it here along those marks, you're going to baste your belt straps into place, securing them so that they don't move. Once you've basted them into place, you're then going to close those darts in the back. And then when you press these, you're actually going to be pressing them to the sides because you have the belt that's going to be pulling them in towards the center. So because your belt's going to center, press those darts out to the sides. Okay, so once you've done that and you've included in your straps into the back section, then take the strap with the single eyelet and slip it onto the buckle. Once you've done that, you're then going to stitch that into place. Then slip once it's all stitched into place, slip your belt onto your buckle just to prevent it from moving around while you continue with the rest of your waistcoat. You can even pin that there so it doesn't move. But then that's the back of your section. Pretty easy, hey? Now once you've done that, take your front sections again and you'll be joining the front to the back at the shoulders, stitching together, right side of fabric facing the standard seam allowance. Stitch it, press open, and then at the sides, once again standard seam allowance, stitch it, clip it in the curve, and then press that seam open. Once you've done that, take all of your lining sections. Let's go to your back lining section. Close the darts. Okay, so you're going to close both darts and press them. You're going to close both darts and press them towards the center back. Once you've done that, grab your front lining section. Do the same. Close the darts and press them towards the center front. Right, so once you've closed the darts, you're then going to join the front lining sections to the side sections. Clip and press that seam. Join the front and back lining sections at the shoulders. And the side seams. So the standard seam allowance, press open and clip the side seams where necessary. And there you have it. Your lining and your main fabric sections are sewn all together. We can start the process of joining them together. What you'll need now is a ruler, small embroidery scissors, and some chalk. You can use dressmaker's chalk, but normal chalk is fine as well. So to start, at the bottom of your center back sections of both the lining and the main fabric. So at the bottom, between the two darts, on the right side of the fabric, make a line that is 1.5 centimeters or 5/8 of an inch. Now you're going to do the same around your armholes. On armholes of both the main fabric and the lining. Measure around 1.5 centimeters or 5/8 of an inch. Now once you've done that around the armholes, take your small scissors and clip along the curve. Right, now once you've done that, you're then going to be pressing along those lines you've just made, taking the fabric towards the inside. So fold fabric towards the wrong side of the fabric and just press all of that flat along all the armholes and along the bottom section between those two dots. Once you've done that, you're then ready for the next step. Now that you have pressed all of those seams, you're going to be adding the lining and the main fabric together. So with the right sides facing, you're going to be starting at one side at the bottom back, at the back darts, then match up all of the seams, all of the points, all the way around. Right, now that you've done that, you're going to stitch using a standard seam allowance all the way around, starting at one end. So all the way around, joining the two fabrics together, finishing at the other end, but you're leaving this area where you've pressed, leaving that open. Now that you've sewn all the way around, joining your fabric and your lining, take your trusty little scissors and in all the areas where you see curves, so especially along the neckline and in some places along the hem, take your scissors and just clip along those curves. This is just to make sure that your fabric sits neatly once you turn it right way out. We do this because clipping and pressing play two very important roles. You're taking something that is flat and square and molding it into something that is 3D and wearable. So this process of clipping, trimming and pressing helps you to assist that garment into becoming something that is 3D. There's just a little curve here at the back. Then, once you've done that, what you're going to do is you're going to trim away excess fabric at all the corners, removing the bulk, so that when your fabric is pushed right side out, you can push your corners out nicely. So once you've done that, you're then going to, through that hole you left in the back, pull your waistcoat through so that the fabric is right side out. And you'll see it's starting to look like something now. So push out all your corners and get all of your seams to lie nice and plush. Pin that into place. Once you've done that, you're going to then press these seams, and then you're going to stitch near the edge, as close to the edge as possible, or at least 5 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. You're going to stitch it flat all the way around, including here at the bottom by the opening. So when you're doing that, when you're stitching all the way around and you come to the bottom area, you'll now be closing this gap that you had left open. So once you've done that, once you've pressed that and stitched it all together, line up your armholes, line up the main fabric of your armholes with your lining fabric. And once you've done it, once you've lined up this armhole fabric for both your lining and your main fabric, and you've pinned it all together along these areas where you've pressed it earlier, you're then going to stitch it close. You're going to stitch as close to the edge as possible, stitching closed your armholes. And then once you've done that, you're ready to move on to the final step. There it is, your waistcoat has come together rather nicely. All you have left to do is make the buttonholes and add your buttons. So take that buttonhole guide that came with the pattern, and on the right side, when it's right side for ladies, left side for men's, on the right side, mark out where those buttonholes are going to be. Right, and then on the contrast colour is where you're going to be sewing those buttonholes. And then on the other side, once you've done that, you'll be lining up and adding those buttons. Before you know it, the waistcoat is going to be ready. Finish off by removing the loose hand stitch at the pockets that you had basted there to keep those pockets nice and closed, and there you have it. Your ladies' two-tone waistcoat is now complete and ready to wear. Remember to feel free to share your creations with us on Instagram @BeulaHeart, and enjoy and happy sewing.